everybody? Welcome back. We've got the Week 6 review and Week 7 preview. For the first time in a while, I'm joined by Jared.
Hey.
And Brett.
Hey.
We successfully survived Milton. Buddy got wrecked. And we're alive. So we're going to jump right in. Brett, take us away. Where are we going first?
So we're going to do a quick review of Week 6. So last week, it was myself, Devin, and George, JGF and DLC. We all picked the same people the whole way through. We picked Batum over myself in the matchup. Essentially, it was a bunch of duds versus a bunch of duds, and a bunch of duds won. And that was Batum's duds.
Batum's duds.
That's really about how that went. Next match was Ross and Rascal. So we all predicted Rascal to win that one. But Ross kept it close all the way to the end until Dak decided to fumble the bag for Josh. It was only a matter of time before Dak does what Dak does. So no surprise there. Next match was Jared versus Clint. We all chose Jared and
Dud.
keep forgetting about the King himself. King Henry took Clint to another victory, and that'll be foreshadowing for the trade talk later. But yeah, so Clint won a close matchup by just over 4 fantasy points. It was a double 1 QB matchup, so that's pretty much that. Hunter versus Kumped. We all chose Hunter to win that one, and Kumped actually came out on top.
Nope.
Wait, what?
Nope.
Oh, Hunter came out on top. Wait, what?
Hunter's team was so bad, it's surprising that he won. Very much a beatable team because Hunter didn't update his lineup this week.
I did that completely wrong then. Either way, Hunter won with 2 QBs, Reek on a bye, Cook out, and Nico on IR versus
and ETN scoring negative.
1 QB. Yeah, and ETN scoring negative. Coming in with just Gino. Essentially, it was Godwin that tried to win him the game.
Godwin.
Godwin versus the entire starting lineup of Hunter, which consisted of like 7 players.
Yeah.
So Hunter won that one. That pushes him to 6-0, and I think he's alive. We've seen some chatting back and forth from him, so he dropped some of his defensive players. So maybe he's
we poked the
running
bear
a new
too
league.
much.
That's right.
The 6-0 team, and now he's active. Is a scary thought.
Right. Next is Dale versus Disco. Dale took that one with the all Ohio State lineup. Disco's team had, I think, 1 QB.
Mm-hmm. He had 2.
Yeah. I'd say he had 1 total QB together. So yeah, Dale got his Ohio State lineup victory, so now he can be proud.
It didn't go to plan. Trey Sermon had a terrible game. Marv got a concussion. Olave got a concussion. After he got a catch and a fumble, Cade Stover did about what I expected him to do. Nothing. This was really 4 players that made me beat Disco here. 5. Stroud, Dobbins, McLaurin, Fields, and Garrett Wilson came through.
Yep. Last match was DLC versus JGF. DLC won that one. What I broke it down to was the running back room for JGF scored a total of 2.8 fantasy points, and Devin's QB room scored 53.6 fantasy points. So
yeah,
that's about it.
Quick math.
Yeah, that's about it for that one.
That was pretty much the gap in the game. Was about 50. Well, it's like 56, but
Yeah.
it's a quick summarization of that. So yeah, an interesting week of predictions for sure. It was the first week this season where all of the matchups were agreed upon by all three hosts. And funnily enough, they were all agreed upon, and they were 3 of 6 in their predictions, which is funny to
Actually,
have.
4 of 6. I fucked up.
Oh, that's right, because Hunter did beat Kumped. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Apologies.
I thought Kumt actually beat him.
Anyway, moving on. We're gonna go ahead and Dr. Jared's got some injury news for us from this past week.
Yeah, so lots of injuries to go around as
Love that.
yeah, as Dale mentioned, his roster especially with Marv and Chris Olave both getting injured. I don't know if Chris Olave knows this, but he's on concussion number 4, and if you get to 10, you get a CTE card. So he's almost halfway there. Almost halfway there.
When
Of
do
course.
you...
Bro. When's the cutoff? How long does he have to get 6 more?
I think you get 10 years. So
Dang.
he's got time. He's only been in the pros for how long? Maybe
3
4
years?
or 5 years.
This is his year 3.
Year 3. Oh wow.
He's
He's gonna beat AB there. Yeah, AB was actually the first one.
averaging like 1 a year, I think. I think he's averaging 1 concussion a year. So that means he's good for the rest of the season.
Yeah, he should be. He should be. And then Malik Neighbors, of course, is missed his second game with his concussion. Who is obviously the better wide receiver over Marvin Harrison, but that's a discussion for another day. Rashid Shaheed is got a knee injury. Looks like he's gonna get surgery, it seems, which means he's probably cooked for the rest of the year. I mean, if
It depends on the knee surgery.
That is true. That is true. I mean, if they make it to the playoffs, he'll be
There
back.
are the knee scopes where they just go in and like clean stuff up on the inside so the cartilage can actually like support the knee, but
Yeah. Other notable injuries include Data. Ooh.
By the way, you missed one.
Goddard. I did not miss one.
Marvin Harrison Jr. has a concussion also. This
I
is
talked
his
about
first.
Breezed over that.
I breezed over that.
Yeah, you did not say that Marvin Harrison Jr. had a concussion.
If we roll back, I actually did, but we won't go there.
Can you watch it back, Dale?
moving forward.
Dallas Goddard has a hamstring injury. Week to week, depending on how you spell that.
Wait, how do you spell it, Jared? What do you mean by that?
I spell week W-E-E-K. Other people spell it W-E-A-K.
Oh.
Yeah,
Either
twice.
way, yeah, well, true. So we'll see how that goes. Obviously, huge blow for Devin's team. He can't catch a break with these, Eagles and
49ers.
Yeah.
Injuries.
Then Dontavian Wicks ruled out of the game against the Cardinals with the shoulder injury. Seems like he may or may not play. It's kind of 50-50. And then
With Wicks, him being limited on Wednesday has me optimistic he'll play, but I'm surprised it's a shoulder injury because it looked like when they played the Rams he had a hand injury with the amount of balls he couldn't catch.
yeah, it would seem that way. Yeah. And then, of course, Travis Etienne, who's left the game against the Bears with a hamstring injury. That was the London game, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that was an early game. And then Tank Bigsby, of course, is the new number 1 running back in Jacksonville. I don't know that he's ever getting his job back.
I was gonna say, I feel like it's not a big loss for the Jaguars. To be
No,
honest.
I don't think it is either. I think Bigsby's actually the better running back. So,
It's
but
crazy.
also they play for the Jags, so
Yeah.
Hey, the
Never
Jags
looked
are back.
back where? To being bad again, or back in the U.S.?
Back to
They're
their
back.
Blake Bortles days, man.
No, they play in London again Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
They stayed there.
Yeah, we'll get to talk about how much they're back a little bit later on, Brad.
I know. And before we go to the next part, I want to jump back to the review of the bold predictions from last week.
Okay.
So, last week, like I mentioned, George, Devin, and I were on. George had a Spencer Rattler, a bold prediction, with an exact stat line. He got it pretty close. The only thing he's missing.
If he cut off the rushing part, he almost nailed that spot on.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If he cut off the rushing part completely, he would have.
Yeah. Do you want to rattle off what he predicted, or just?
Yeah, he went. He predicted 16 for 30, 200 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 60 rushing yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns with a fumble. And he ended up getting 22 for 40, 243, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions.
The passing line was spot on.
Yep. And the fumble.
Yeah, and he fumbled. The Saints did maintain the possession on that fumble, though. But he was 33 yards rushing short, and the important part, 2 rushing touchdowns short of what George predicted.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Devin predicted Tank Dell, 7 receptions for 115 yards and a touchdown. He got everything right except for the yardage. He had 7 receptions, 57 yards, so about 60 some yards short.
Mm-hmm. 58.
But he got the touchdown.
58 yards short.
Yeah. And then on the mine, Mr. Danny Dollars himself. I predicted 300 total yards and 3 total touchdowns. He had almost 300 total yards, but 0 touchdowns. So mine is the farthest from being a bold prediction win out of the 3 of us.
In preparation for last week, before the hurricane changed the plans, I had actually predicted Bijan for 150 and 2 touchdowns, and it's the second week in a row that my 150 yards and 2 touchdowns has turned into 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I just want to pat myself on the back for that, even though it wasn't on the show.
Didn't you do Najee the week before?
No, DJ Moore was the previous week, and he had 105 and 2, and Bijan.
Roger.
So yeah, now that that's over.
But you weren't on last week, so it doesn't count.
Yeah, that's true. Does not count. Going back to present day, we've got some NFL trades that have happened, as well as a couple fantasy trades. So we're going to start with the NFL trades. I think the biggest news in the league, I think everybody's been kind of waiting for this move to happen. I want to let Jared speak on this first because he has, Rodgers and Brees here. But the Jets traded for Davante Adams. And
sure did.
So, Jared, let's hear your thoughts on that. I'm going to pull up the compensation here.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the outlook for Rodgers, it's great. I think that he has been needing a wide receiver option that he trusts. I don't know. Maybe it's a little far-fetched to suggest he doesn't trust Garrett Wilson, but I don't know if I can explain what's been happening with him other than, I don't know. There's just been some weird stuff where I feel like they've never been on the same page. In the last 2 games, makes that seem a little foolish for me to say that.
I think it has more to do with the second and third string receivers. Like, Lazard's been fine, but Mike Williams has, been he's been targeted the last 2 weeks in, a final drive situation and hasn't been able to do anything. So I think it has less to do with Garrett Wilson not being able to produce and more to do with Mike Williams.
Yeah. I actually think this is probably a better situation, though, for Garrett Wilson in particular, because he can kind of slot into a wide receiver 2 slot. I don't think Garrett Wilson is truly a wide receiver 1. He doesn't have the body for that.
So, I see what you're saying.
You had to have the right build, and I don't think he has it. So,
yeah,
I think that he could be like a T. Higgins, where he's maybe even the better option some weeks. But I just think that when they're in the red zone, it's going to Davante Adams.
I think
he's the bigger wide receiver to throw the target.
I think playing the Steelers this week, this is a perfect matchup for Garrett Wilson. Because Alan Lazard has been great this year, but the concern with Wilson is that he's been thriving on volume with all these targets. I mean, the last 4 weeks combined, the dude has like 50 targets. I mean, he had 17 between week 3 and 4, and he's had 33 in the last 2 weeks. So, and we'll see how it plays out this week, but it's not a good thing for Garrett Wilson. It almost never is when you get target competition, but it can create opportunity in a different way. The compensation for that trade was the Jets gave up a 3rd round pick that will turn into a 2nd, I believe, if Adams is a 1st or 2nd team All-Pro, or if he's on the active roster for the AFC Championship game or Super Bowl. And the Jets are paying all of his salary, which doesn't really matter for this. But a couple hours after that trade happened, we had another wide receiver trade. And that one, has to do with my team. I think it's officially time. Kevin Stefanski's been saying for multiple weeks that Deshaun Watson gives the Browns the best chance to win. And I saw someone tweet out that's entirely accurate, except for in 2025 and beyond needs to be added to the end of that. And I think at this point, the Browns have kind of signaled they're going to tank. We traded Amari Cooper and a 2025 6th round pick for a 2025 3rd and a 2026 7th. I'll take the 3rd round pick for Amari Cooper, but do you guys have any fantasy implications for that trade?
I think it's pretty obviously stock up for Amari Cooper, just because he's got a better quarterback throwing to him. Mm-hmm. Now, there's definitely some advanced statistics you could look at that would tell you Amari Cooper's not good.
Like the drops? Is that an advanced statistic?
It hasn't been good. No, there's other, his drop rate, and then a lot of his targets have been kind of bullcrap, but the ones that actually have been declared catchable balls have even been kind of bad, which is what I would say is the advanced statistic, because you can't just look at receptions versus targets and expect that you have the full story.
Right.
So I would say drops is an advanced statistics because it's taking into account catchable balls.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll see. I mean, obviously the Bills' passing offense has been weird. I think their leading wide receiver last week was a running back who I don't even know the name of. But he was in one of my parlays because he was Ray Davis. Oh yeah, that should be the surprise of the week. I don't know if he's somebody's surprise, but yeah. So I mean, that's the biggest thing I would say.
Yeah. Brad, do you have any thoughts on either trade? Sorry.
So the only thing that I can think of is all of the downgrades within the offenses. So like the Bills, for example, Keon Coleman.
Yeah.
Hasn't been getting a ton of targets or catches or whatever.
And Keon Coleman is the same type of receiver as Amari Cooper, I feel like.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously that doesn't bode well for him. I mean, Kincaid's been slow, I guess, if you want to call it that. So, I don't know. I think it's great for Allen to have another target.
Mm-hmm.
But, again, it's whether Cooper actually decides to dump the stones that he has for hands.
Yeah. My thoughts on this trade specifically, obviously terrible for Keon Coleman, but I think everybody else in the Bills' offense, I actually kind of think this is an upgrade. I mean, their offense the last few weeks hasn't looked great since week 3, and everybody's going to look great against the Jaguars. But, yeah, I mean, stock down for Keon Coleman, obviously, but I like Kincaid more. I think it's going to take some pressure off him to be the number 1 target and maybe open up the middle of the field more because they'll have to use outside the numbers with Amari Cooper.
They got to get rid of Knox. Knox is taking all of Kincaid's catches.
Hey, whatever, man. He's Knoxing Kincaid around. That was bad.
That was very bad.
But yeah, I do like this trade also for Khalil Shakir because he's been more of like a middle of the field intermediate target, and I think it's going to allow him to have more space to work. So we'll see how that plays out. Some interesting stuff for sure. And now the interesting, somewhat controversial fantasy trades that happened. Jared, I want you to talk us through this. Derrick Henry finally moved.
Yeah. After complaining about him not moving by his current owner, Clinton, I decided after some duds I had seen on my running backs throughout the year that I thought Derrick Henry was worth a first-round pick. And through some negotiating, I ended up getting him for a 2026 first, which at the time seemed like a reasonable price to pay for a running back that's RB1, I
Smashing.
think, probably in the season, right?
I believe so.
So it seemed like
Two.
two. Who's one? I wonder.
I don't got time for that.
Anyways, but yeah. So looking at that, it seemed like it was a worthy trade. So I did trade for him, and gave up a 2026 first. And then the next morning, I woke up to an inbox trade from Ross for a 2025 first round pick.
This is Ross's pick.
Yeah, that is Ross's pick indeed. So it's I traded away mine, which I'm hopefully contending
Next year.
2026 for a team that is, I would say, middle of the road.
Yeah, I think
This year.
at this point in the season, I feel pretty confident in saying the 6 teams that are in playoff position will be our 6 playoff teams.
Yeah. But so yeah, with that being said, I got him, ended up just flipping it, and now I have a first round pick next year, which I did not have.
Yeah.
So that kind of got me some potential to go out and maybe get a young running back or something next year in this draft. So
Brett, do you have any initial thoughts on this? I know in the chat you were popping off about it. I was too, but
It's just Jared doing Jared things, flipping
Yep.
something for something better.
He's
it
done this
seems,
before.
So. Yeah.
Credit to Jared, but sometimes when the stove is hot, it burns, and I think that's kind of what happened to Ross here. I think he, and Clint said in the chat here that he had offered he had offered Ross, the same trade before, and this is kind of what we were talking before the show. Sometimes it's just about knowing the market and being able and ready to pull the trigger on it. Unfortunate
Jared's
for
just a
Clint.
sweet talker, though, too.
Yeah. Well, he's charming. He's a charming guy. Gets it done. And speaking of getting it done, let's get this preview done. We're gonna start off this week. We've got Brett taking on Josh. I don't think we need to say much about this matchup. Brett is more focused on the number 1 overall pick. Josh is, competing for a top 2 seed. So I'm gonna go Josh.
Yeah, I think we all. Yeah, that's
A sweep across the
that's
board.
consensus, which will be a trend here, as you see. I also
will
have
it?
Josh picked, so.
Next up, we've got Ross versus Adam. As we kind of said, I feel that these top 6 are the playoff teams. Now, Adam can maneuver his lineup a little bit here, so the projection looks a little bit closer. But Ross acquiring Derrick Henry, I think that, and Amari Cooper to the Bills. It's not sure if he's going to play on Sunday, but long term, I think that's a great move for Ross. I do think Ross is going to take down Adam, and you guys agree. You have anything else to add?
Yes. I didn't even realize that he also had Cooper. This could be quite the swing in momentum for him. I don't know.
And Cooper
what
Cup
it
might be
means
back.
for what it means for the playoffs, but there's a world where Ross maybe knocks teams out of the playoff.
The world where that first you got, Jared, is a late round first this coming year.
That is true.
Hey, it's entirely determined by playoff finish. So you never
As
know what
the
happens
king.
if you make the dance. You never know how long you're gonna tango.
Yeah. The other thing with Adam's team is the whole Indianapolis.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell they're doing over there, but Richardson, you never know day to day. Pittman playing through his
So
supposed IR.
the fantasy footballers were talking about this situation a little bit, and they were laughing at Pittman was going to go on IR. And then it was announced that Flacco would start, and he decided he was going to play. And they were joking about maybe this is a quarterback thing for Pittman, where he doesn't want to play with Richardson so he can baby the injury a little bit more when Richardson's starting. But
That's an interesting take.
it's definitely funny, but yeah. You guys agree that Ross is winning this, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, next we got Jared and Kumpt, the brother-in-law matchup here. Jared's got another starting quarterback by way of the Steelers coaching staff, benching Justin Fields for Russell Wilson this week. And again, a contending team versus a team that doesn't look like he's got juice. I think Jared's going to take this matchup.
Yep, that's the hope for me as well. I hope I win this game. I have 2 quarterbacks this week, and my running backs are off buys, and most of my key players are back.
Jared's already
So I
sitting at 90% win rate.
Yeah, it's wild
crazy.
before the games start. That's the highest
that's
of the year for
crazy.
sure.
I mean, there's some fudging that Kumpt can do. Like, Zeke is out,
Right. This
Vaughn is out, but like he puts anyone in, it's not
It's
like
going to get to 80.
crazy upgrade.
It's gonna get that.
Yeah.
We all agree there. Jared is going to beat Kumpt. Now we've got Hunter and Clint. We are unanimous on this pick. We are all picking Hunter over Clint. Again, the 2 quarterback thing that Hunter's got going. Burrow and Lamar just putting up unreal numbers. Now he does have pieces of the Bills' offense that may get a little bit tamed down with a new face in town potentially this week. But yeah, we're all picking Hunter. But could Clint pull the upset off 2 weeks in a row? And if so, what do you guys think has to happen?
He needs the king back.
Yeah. Or his running backs.
He's got a new king. He's got a new king.
He's got a tank, but he still needs a king.
Yeah.
He's got a big Knicks and a tank. Can he do it with us too?
If Zach Moss is actually good at football again, he might have a chance.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
It'd be hard against the Browns, I would say.
I don't know. There's rumors they're trading Myles Garrett.
Wait, really?
I mean, I saw it today. I think it was a
They
Steelers
should.
fan mostly making fun, but
As a Browns
was-
fan, they should. Trade everybody.
it actually didn't say that the Browns were interested in trading him. It was
Okay.
that people were reaching out
Gotcha.
about if he was available, which isn't, I mean, uncommon. If a team's losing and they have a star player, you check, right?
Yeah, it's your due diligence.
Especially
Yeah,
after
for
trading
teams.
away
Another star player.
Cooper.
Yeah, it would seem that they're maybe in that mode. And
So
if
a
you
lot
could
of
get
people are saying the
Myles
best
Garrett-
wide receiver in franchise history. I know I wouldn't go that far, but I think Josh Gordon was up there too. But moving on, we've got
Who?
Devin and Disco here. The Eagles are having some injury problems, but that's no issue for Devin because his wide receiver core is about 8 deep at this point, and Kareem Hunt has saved his career. Devin got a steal off waivers a month ago for nothing.
Yeah. And he had
And-
Pacheco, didn't he?
He did have Pacheco.
How did we let that happen, guys?
Well, I had
That's
Carson Steele, and I was pretty confident it was going to be Carson Steele, but
Well, a lot of us were. I dropped
I
him
think-
in another league today.
is there any way that we think Disco pulls this upset here? Is there a world?
There's ways. I mean, like, if the right players go off, it's possible. It mostly, I think, comes down to his quarterbacks playing well. He can't have another
Will Levis game?
6. Yeah, he needs like 17 from Will Levis.
Oh,
He needs Levis and Ridley to just like,
yeah, he needs like
Combined
2
for-
long touchdowns to Ridley.
yeah.
Yeah, it can happen. It's just it would basically take the Titans being good at football, and that's kind of far.
And that's impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, this last matchup we've got here is myself versus George. Now, this is a bit of a rivalry now after his Kate Otten pick sold me the week. And actually, that didn't matter because Hunter would have beat me no matter what I put out there. But it still upset me that I started Kate Otten, and he's been nothing but bench fodder for me. But I think my team's going to take him out, even with the injuries that are happening to my team. I'm assuming Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to miss this week. Olave's already been declared out because they're the Thursday night game. But I've got the replacements on tap to handle George. I've got a nice winning percentage to start the week.
But you're saying you're not going back with your Ohio State lineup. I thought that was the plan.
Well, I don't have enough left to do it, so no,
You could.
I can't.
You could, though.
I can't.
Where did Blake Corum go to college? Michigan. That counts. It's the same thing.
What?
Complete opposite.
That is.
You could start Denzel Ward in your flex spot.
I actually can't. Where's Denzel Ward on
You
my
could-
bench? I can't find Denzel Ward. Oh, there he is.
You could
You
play T.
can't.
Sermon over Allen, and you could play.
Well, I have
You could
Bijan
make
in
it
there
work.
too.
You just gotta commit. You gotta
I
commit.
actually literally can't. Sermon can
Just
play. Sermon can
Leave
play
the
over
empty
Bijan.
spot.
What?
Over.
Okay, you're just. I literally don't have enough
Over
players to do
McBride.
it. But
Take somebody off the waiver who's an Ohio State player. It sounds like you don't have enough faith. That's all I'm saying. Anyways.
Not when half of them have concussions.
So yeah,
Well.
in this matchup, I think JGF actually wins. I'm relying on a couple
Bro.
things here. I need Justice Hill to be better than Aaron Rodgers,
Dude.
which we already know he is. Right? Justice Hill better than Aaron Rodgers. I need George Pickens to go off. I need AJ Brown just to be AJ Brown. I need Diggs to do well. We need Mayfield to be a Baker Mayfield, and we need Spencer Rattler to put 30 points, and then he wins. It's over.
Against the Broncos without his top two receivers? Okay.
I'm just saying.
Hey, all he
Crazy
needs is
things
check
have happened.
down the Kamara. That's all you need.
All he needs is like 4 rushing touchdowns this week.
I'm just saying. It could happen. And
There's a
I'm
chance.
betting on it.
Brett,
Sorry, I'm
Brett,
changing. Oh, you already changed it. Good. Okay.
Brett, what do you think about this matchup?
I don't think that it's close.
Oh?
No, I mean, there's a lot that needs to go right for
Yeah.
AGF's team. I don't know, but it's fantasy. You never know.
This
I got
is,
Dale though.
I'm pretty upset with Jared for robbing us of 2 straight weeks of unanimous picks. Because it went so well last week. And-
Yeah, we just wanted that chaos again.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on, we've got our busts of the week this week. For myself, you know, I predicted this obviously because I put him on my bench, but DJ Moore had 2 catches for 40 yards, a total of 6 fantasy points against a pretty bad Jaguars defense. This is pretty much because the Bears can do whatever they want to the Jaguars this past week to win in London. But Brett, who's your bust of the week?
I went with old Dak. Like I said before, kind of can see it coming, being a Cowboys player. They're always going to fall short, but this week he just looked terrible.
Dak thought it was a playoff game.
Yeah, 117 for 33, 178 yards, no touchdowns, but 2 interceptions. Yeah, and Detroit just like stomped them on Jerry's birthday.
They
Like,
ran a hook and ladder to a lineman.
They did all kinds of stuff with the linemen. It was a lot of BM in that match.
Yeah. No ethical, moral status. I don't know. It was weird.
But if it's gonna happen to anyone, I allow it against the Cowboys. So
Yeah. Yep. So my bust this week is actually not that big of a bust. It's more just a crusade that I'm leading against another owner in this league who won't stop harping about how good this offense was going to be and just an opportunity to gloat, honestly. So my bust is Kyler Murray, who didn't have the worst week in the world, but all of it, the stats don't even really matter. He ended up with 12.9 fantasy points,
That's a bust for a quarterback.
which is a bust. It's not like the worst bust in the world. Dak obviously had less than that.
but it is a bust on such a high-powered offense.
Yeah, and obviously Marv got hurt. I don't know how early that happened. I
It was
actually
like
just
first
thought
quarter.
that- wow. I had looked at this before the game and didn't realize Marv had gotten hurt, and thought that he was just a scrub because he had no points again. Which
Oh my
is the
gosh.
second time.
Oh my
Which
gosh.
would have been the second time. I almost put him in the bus category. So.
Oh my gosh.
But anyways, that's the second time he's been held without points, and then he had 7 carries for 14 yards, which is like he's Najee Harris out there running 3 yards to half a yard every time. I don't know.
That's
So,
a
yeah,
perfect
he's-
comparison. Najee Harris and Kyler Murray. They're the same exact type of runner.
Yeah, really.
Kyler's
And-
smaller.
I just, since you're leading this crusade against me, I just want to point out that you in week
He
one.
didn't say you.
Well, he said another owner, and I know he's talking about me. But
Oh.
in week one, Jared predicted Kyler to have 3 turnovers. Was his bold prediction. He has 4 on the entire season through 6 weeks. So
He had 1 that week, so I was a third of the way there.
Okay, George. Anyway, now speaking of Najee Harris and Kyler Murray, Jared.
Yeah. So I'm a Steelers fan, obviously. My surprise of the week was Najee Harris, who apparently knows how to play football again, which is exciting for the Steelers. I don't know if the Raiders are just that bad, because they made Najee Harris look like he was good and fast. He looked fast even in that one run. I was very
That one
surprised.
run.
He juked that one guy out of his body. Man. That was kind of insane. The one guy literally got juked out of his body. But
Glass
anyways,
like a bag of bones.
yeah, he had 14 carries for 106 yards, a touchdown, and then 2 catches for 16. Honestly, he could have had a better game than this, but the defense and Justin Fields honestly took yards from him with his rushing ability, which is not a bad thing for the Steelers as a team, but
Or is it?
fantasy-wise,
Maybe it is.
I mean, he had 2 rushing touchdowns again, didn't he? So
He
imagine
did-
if that was Najee Harris, 3 rushing touchdowns.
True.
But that's his first one all season.
Imagine
so
if the
we'll take
offense
one.
doesn't even get in the red zone because they keep getting sacked.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. But anyways, yeah, that's my surprise of the week.
We're gonna. This is running backs, the theme of the week for surprises this week. I've got my boy. I say my boy because I
Your
have
boy.
a lot of dynasty leagues.
Here we go.
This was a common pick for me last year. He sucked last year, quite frankly, and he finally got an opportunity this week. 14 carries, had 136 yards and a touchdown. He also had 56 yards in the receiving game on 3 catches and another touchdown. The Buccaneers could be working themselves into a 3-headed backfield, which I think just makes all 3 options not fantasy relevant. But it was good to see Sean Tucker pop, because he was a pretty highly touted sleeper pick last year in fantasy community, but didn't do anything until now. And Brett, what do you got? Speaking of sleepers.
Yeah, so I got Damian Pierce. He just came back off of an injury, and he put up numbers as far as, like I said, just coming right off an injury, like 8 attempts for 76 yards and touchdowns. That's almost 10 yards a carry. I didn't include like the 1 target for 1 yard because that's kind of irrelevant. But like I said, coming off a 4-week stretch of injury, and with Mixon was back too. I thought it was pretty good. It's a big surprise for me.
Yeah, I think his line. He definitely had a good game for sure. He definitely should not have gotten a touchdown though. He did step out before he hit the end zone, but I won't complain about NFL officiating at this time in this place. But what we will do is we're gonna go ahead and launch our bold player predictions for this week. And since the Steelers have been such a topic on this show, we're gonna swap it over to Jared for his bold take this week.
Yeah, another Steeler, George Pickens, this week against the Giants, Sunday Night Football. He's going to have his best fantasy game all year. He's going to catch 7 of 9 passes for 139 yards and a touchdown because he now has a quarterback that can throw. Because the only time that Justin Fields has thrown all year was that one game where they were down. Other than that, he's not really throwing the ball well this year.
Pickens just had like a 40-yard catch with Fields in this last game.
It was underthrown.
He caught
If
it.
you want to get into it, it was underthrown.
Fields
and
was throwing
behind.
him away from a big hit.
No, he wasn't. It was a touchdown. If he would have let him, it would have been
The
touchdown.
big hit was the end zone, but he threw him away from the big hit.
Anyways, I think that George Pickens will have a good game. I don't know that the Steelers will win. Actually, I think if George Pickens has a big game, they probably won't win because that apparently is the trend. If we lose, George Pickens does well. Well, except Dallas, I guess. But anyways, that's my bold prediction. You guys are up.
I like it. Brett, I like your bold prediction. I think it's a little bit more spicy. So we're gonna kick it over to you next. What do you got?
Yeah, so I got something I've been queuing up for a few years in the fantasy world. Had him sitting behind Lamar for how many years? He was a Pro Bowler, if you didn't know. Mr. Tyler Huntley Snoop, as you might know him as. He's been absolutely god awful when you actually consider who his wide receiver room is. The fact that all you have to do is get the ball to Hill and he'll do the rest.
Nice.
And it hasn't happened. That's pretty sad. But I think this week is his big week. Coming off a bye, he's against the Colts. I think he's going to put up about 300 yards, 3 touchdowns with 1 turnover. So yeah, very bold prediction considering how terrible he's looked. And, you know, he's never necessarily been a great starting quarterback, but yep, spicy.
Spicy indeed. And this reminds me a lot of the Andy Dalton pick from Jared earlier this season. So we'll see if Snoop can pull through for you. And I'm also going to stay at the quarterback position. We're going across the pond, as they say. My bold prediction this week is that Drake May against the Jacksonville Jaguars, if they even have a defense on the field, and I think he throws combined between passing and rushing. I think he has 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. Probably at least two of those touchdowns are coming through the air. He may have 1 rush, but he's playing one of the worst defenses in the NFL in the Jaguars, and they just made another rookie look like a god last week in Caleb Williams. So Drake may look good against a decent Texans defense, and I think he'll look even better against the Jaguars defense this week in London. You guys have any thoughts on that?
I didn't realize how good of a game he had last week, to be honest.
Yeah, it's all garbage time.
Fantasy-wise,
Garbage.
of course, but
yeah. It's all in garbage time.
He did have 3 turnovers.
He's just another Mac Jones.
Mac Jones wasn't a garbage time merchant. That was Sam Howell.
No, actually it was Bailey Zappi after they benched Mac Jones during the game. Anyway, with that being said, that'll wrap up this week's show. Except we do have one final surprise here. It's been a few weeks coming. This is the water bets from the first 4 weeks of the NFL season. So Jared lost in our pick'ems battle 3 times. I lost once. So enjoy the next 40 seconds of this video.
Ready?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Which one are you doing?
Matrix, of course.
Okay, ready?
So I can dodge.
Oh, that's pretty good. Alright, pause it. Alright.
Go ahead.
Just
Are you going?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh my god, they all...
Dale's like an old lady.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not.
Alright, go ahead.
Try to block this.
You're not gonna try and kick it back?
I don't think I can do that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to kick it in the face for that.
Alright.
Yep, go ahead.
Do I have to go underhand?
Yeah.
Okay.
Get over
Yeah,
it.
just overhand it.
Throw the cup.
1, 2, 3.
You hit low, wow.
I was
You hit-
trying.
Ready?
You used the wall. That's cheating.
I wasn't cheating. I'm sorry.
Bang, run it back.
Guess I'll have to
Yeah.
go again.
We're-
Well, I
we're-
will because
we're
I've
behind
lost a
again,
few more
yeah.
weeks since then. So we'll get those paid out tomorrow, and they'll be on next week's show for the last couple weeks that we've missed. And we'll see you guys then.
Alright.
Yep. Bye.